Imagine waking up to a news headline that reads, "Cities submerged, wildfires rage, and food shortages loom." Sounds like a dystopian movie, right? Well, what if I told you that this isn't fiction, but a glimpse into what unchecked climate change could bring? Climate change is often talked about in the news, but do you truly understand what it is and how it's reshaping our world? If not, don't worry, you're not alone. Today, we'll break it down in simple terms. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand climate change, but also why it's one of the biggest challenges humanity has ever faced. And here's the twist. What happens to our planet depends on choices we make now. Before we dive in, here's a quick question. Why do we call it climate change and not weather change? Think about that while we explore the basics. If we define climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. But this isn't just Mother Nature acting on a whim. Since the late 1800s, human activities, primarily burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas, have caused these changes to speed up dramatically. Here's a quick science nugget. When we burn fossil fuels, they release greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. These gases trap heat, much like a cozy blanket on a cold night. Sounds great for winter, right? Except this blanket keeps getting thicker, and now the planet is overheating. Speaking of overheating, did you know the world's hottest temperature ever recorded was 134 degrees Fahrenheit in Death Valley? That's like stepping into a giant hairdryer. But here's the scary part. We're setting records like this more frequently. But what is the difference between weather and climate change? Remember that earlier question? Here's the answer. Weather is what's happening outside your window right now. Rain, sun, snow. Climate, on the other hand, is like a movie. It's the bigger picture of weather trends over decades or even centuries. Think of it this way. If weather is your mood today, climate is your personality over years. And just like a personality shift can mean something serious, drastic climate changes signal a deeper problem. But how do we know climate change is happening? You might wonder, how can scientists be so sure? Well, they've got evidence, lots of it. From melting glaciers to rising sea levels, from coral reefs bleaching like faded jeans to temperature records shattering year after year. Consider this. Sea levels have risen over 8 inches since 1880. Doesn't sound like much? Imagine adding 8 inches of water to every coastline. Cities like Miami or New York could face flooding on a massive scale. Here's a surprising stat. In the last 40 years, the Arctic has lost nearly 75% of its summer sea ice. If you're imagining polar bears playing "The Floor is Lava" on shrinking ice, you're not far off. If you are thinking, why should we care? Climate change isn't just about hotter summers. It's about survival. It affects the food we eat, the water we drink, and the air we breathe. Take food, for example. Warmer temperatures can disrupt crops like wheat, rice, and corn, causing food shortages. Meanwhile, droughts and floods make farming unpredictable. The result? Higher prices at your local grocery store. And it's not just crops. Rising temperatures also increase the spread of diseases like malaria and dengue fever. In other words, climate change doesn't just hurt polar bears, it hurts us. But here's the kicker. While the damage is real, there's still hope, and that's what we'll discuss next. Here's now, what can we do? Here's the good news. Climate change isn't a death sentence. It's a wake-up call, and every small action adds up. Switching to renewable energy, conserving water, or simply recycling can make a huge difference. Governments, too, play a role. International agreements like the Paris Accord aim to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. While that sounds tiny, it's the difference between manageable change and catastrophic consequences. Now here's a question to leave you with. What will the world look like in 50 years if we don't act today? Picture sweltering heat waves, flooded cities, and food scarcity. But flip that thought. Imagine a world where renewable energy powers cities, forests thrive, and communities are resilient. Which future would you choose? The power lies in our hands. If you're curious about how your actions can contribute to a better planet, check out our next video on How Does Recycling Work? You'll learn exactly what happens to your trash after it leaves your bin, and how recycling ties into the fight against climate change. Click the end screen to watch now. Together, let's keep building a world worth living in. See you in the next one.